Well, good morning, everybody. How is everyone this morning? All right. Do we have some people who weren't here last time? Okay. All right. We'll get you caught up. Glad you could make it. All right. We have some. Hi. Come in.
Right on time.
Right on time. Bruce, can you now get me slides, please? So you see all these happy, smiling faces up here. Does that bring back memories of what you learned? All right. Well, it's interesting how you can see a picture and you go, oh yeah, I remember learning that. I remember what she said. I remember what I was doing. I remember what I was thinking. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to see such a full house. All right, we have some really interesting things that we're going to do that I think you are going to love. And we're going to talk about old men first thing. Last week, remember, we talked about critical factors for success. Remember that? We talked about your body doesn't lie. We did this, and it's every thought either weakens you or strengthens you. Did you think about your thoughts this week? What did you think? What did you notice?
I thought good thoughts.
You thought good thoughts all the time. Excellent. So you were stronger. You were stronger. Excellent. And we talked about wiring your brain for success. We had that visualization. Remember the visualization, and you felt so calm afterwards. So what I'd like you to do is turn into your packet on the very first page, the front. Let's just say at the front. I just want you to take a moment and write down what you remember from last week. I want to reconnect with last week before we go forward this week. I know. And we're going to talk about retention later in the day. So this will be a good assessment of your, just think about the things that we did last week, the things that we talked about, and just jot down a couple of notes for yourself. What do you remember from last week? Having fun with the people you were talking to, doing your exercises, whatever. Because it's great to learn new things. It literally feels good. It literally changes your chemistry. And it's valuable to remember some of that too. Because one of the things that we talk about when we get older is how we can't remember anything. And we're going to begin to address that so that we do remember. Because if you had a wonderful time last week, that's great, right? But if you can't remember it and then use it, it doesn't have as much value. Welcome, come on in. Okay, I'd like you to get with the people at your table and share what you remember about last week, because you'll remember some things and they'll remember other things, and together you can put the whole program together. Thank you. Okay, so I think you remembered more than what you thought you remembered, because once you got to talking, you had a fair amount to talk about. So one of the things that I want you to kind of pay attention to is we tend to do this as older people, who are older than 21. We have this thing about, oh, I don't remember much from last week. I don't remember much that I read, whatever. And initially, not much comes to mind, okay? It works a little slower as we get older, okay? So we think, well, oh, yeah, I just can't remember like I used to. But once you got to talking, and as soon as somebody else said something, you went, oh, yeah, I remember that, okay? So notice it's in there. That's really important. It's still there. We have maybe a little work to do on how to pull it out, which is what we're going to do. So it is there. Give yourself credit for it. It's just maybe we're going to have some new techniques of how to pull more of that out. So you wrote down what you learned last week. You found out that, yes, you actually did remember more than what you thought you did. And this is what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about how, I was like, really? Is that what we're going to talk about? And I'm just talking about retention, wasn't I? What an example. Okay. Today we're going to talk about how your brain changes your body. We kind of alluded to that last week when we did the arm thing. We're going to explore that even more. We're going to give you a whole brain thinking tool. This is one of the most powerful tools I've ever come across. Next, on the 4th week, I'm going to actually show you research that we've done on people's brains using this technique, and it's really phenomenal. So I'm going to give you a whole new way of starting to think about things, brainstorm, remember your shopping list, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to have a really neat exercise at the end where we're going to look at rewiring your brain the way you want it to be. So that's our agenda for today. Let's start talking about how your brain changes your body. This is down on Sarasota Beach. Siesta. No, this is some research that they did. And what they did was they took they took 2 groups of 20 men. And this is in 1982, and all of the men were 72 years old. So they had one group that was the control group, so those men didn't do much of anything. And then I'm going to tell you what they did with the other men in just a moment and what happened to them. So here's the group of men. The situation was 70-year-old men. For 5 days, they took them to a kind of like a lodge, a place to stay in Maryland. And they were completely secluded from the rest of the world. And they immersed them in the 1960s. Actually, they chose the year 1962, so that was 20 years from when the men were. Okay. And in that time, the men completely were saturated in the time frame of 1962. So they had Life magazines. Remember Life magazines? I know. They had Life magazines, Saturday Evening Post that they could read. They watched movies and TVs from the 60s. Remember some of those old 60 TV shows? They listened to music from Perry Como, Nat King Cole. They discussed the rise of Castro, what Khrushchev was doing. They discussed lots of sports, Mickey Mantle, Floyd Patterson. Everything that they had in this building was from 1962. So the food they ate, hot dogs, the furniture, every single detail was from 1962. So for 5 days, these men were completely immersed in that time frame. In fact, they were even very strict about the verbs that they used. They had to use verbs of present tense. Like, yes, you couldn't talk about, Well, yeah, I remember you had to talk, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Remember Khrushchev or whatever. So for 5 days, they were living in the now, which for them was 1962. Grand fun, right? Grand fun. So then they tested these men, all kinds of things. They took blood tests, they did all kinds of things. They found that their bodies were structurally and functionally younger after 5 days. 5 days. I want you to think about that. They found that there were improvements in their height because they stood up straighter. They found there was improvements in their weight. 5 days and they weighed less. Holy cow, I'm getting in that program, right? Even their walking gait had improved. They found that their posture straightened. They found their joints became more flexible because their arthritis receded. Their arthritis receded. Their eyesight and their hearing improved. We're wiping out the whole medical program. Their fingers lengthened because their arthritis went into submission. Their grip strengthened. Their memory sharpened. And their scores on mental cognition improved 63%. 63%. Holy cow. One man reported, he said, I'm in my 70s, but by the end of the week, I laid my cane down and I played football. Think about that. He no longer needed his cane to walk. That's pretty impressive. The men literally became younger mentally and physically right in front of the scientists' eyes. It was so dramatic that the scientists couldn't believe it. So they did it again with another group, and they did it again with another group, and they did it again with another group. And every group had the same result. Because at first they thought, oh, we just happened to pick these 20 men. Every person that came through the program improved. Now they also tested the control group, and their heartbeat and their blood pressure improved a little bit because they were relaxing. Okay, so there was like that much. Okay, but certainly nothing like the men who were there. As they changed their minds, they changed their bodies. Their minds were in 1962. So immersed in 1962 that their entire physiology changed. Whoa, what's the implication for you? Polly? You're going back to college? All right. Did I hear somebody over here?
So I've experienced that though.
Oh, please tell us.
Okay. If you're ever around young people and you're hanging with young people, you feel young. I prefer hanging with young people than older people. But like youth mission trip, we take a youth mission trip, and you go on the trip and you're with these kids all day long, and all of a sudden you're doing crazy things too.
Yes. Yes, all of a sudden you're crazy too. Okay. And what have you been smoking lately, huh? Okay. Yes, why is that? And what's the implication of that? She's younger, literally younger, when she's with younger people.
We behave the way we think we're supposed to behave.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry. Say that again.
we aren't like that all the time because we think we have to behave in a certain way right now, and we live in that.
We behave like we think we're supposed to behave.
I don't really like it.
Then you don't really like it.
We age appropriate.
And we age appropriately.
Appropriate.
Oh, so it's appropriate to act old. It's appropriate to be cranky. It's appropriate to have stiff joints.
I never did get old.
You didn't get
I
old.
mean, I still think like a little kid, like my son. I can banter with him in a heartbeat.
Yes.
My older son, who's just a couple years older, he's like an old man.
He's like an old man.
He's just so rigid.
Oh, yeah. Okay, listen to the terminology. An old man, he's rigid. So that's a term that we think of arthritic, rigid. We think of young people as fluid. And
No
we,
limits as you're younger. There are no limits, and as you get older, limits.
oh,
And I have
limits.
no limits either.
Limits.
And I'm good for you.
But the younger people don't know if there are limits. They just keep.
They don't know that if there's, of course, we never thought we would get old. We thought we were invincible. Right. So we did invincible things, right? But I want you to think about the implications. So we're all sitting around being gray hairs, right? And so we think we have to act like a gray hair, which is being stiff and rigid, and then we go home and we find we are stiff and rigid. But we're not when we're with young people. What is the implication here, folks?
We need to grow young.
We need to grow young.
I like that.
Need to grow young. Do we even need to grow?
No, we could just be.
We could just be. And our bodies would respond, like our arthritis could go away. Yes.
Ask a question.
Sure.
Something just hit me. Can the reverse be true?
Oh, yeah.
If you change your body, you can change your mindset. Is that a possibility?
Well, let me ask you, what do you think?
Well, the reason I asked
Okay.
is I did something when I turned 70. I decided to wear my hair natural. And I have been,
Me too.
pressing it.
And I'm not liking it. I like yours better. Okay, good.
And then, for some reason, it made me think I was younger because the young people are wearing their hair natural.
Yes.
So I kind of perked up a little and, start buying little outfits that we're going to hold your front.
Cute little things, right? Right? And then when you wore the cute little, even just buying the cute little thing, how did you feel? Younger.
So I was just wondering, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think?
I think maybe.
You think maybe. So therefore, let me just say, and therefore, what do you want to do with that?
Incorporate it into maybe lifestyle a little bit.
Okay, what might that look like?
More exercise.
More exercise?
I don't know, I'm just going off.
Yeah, it's something to think about. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I flip that just a little bit? It's not more exercise, it's more having active fun.
Yeah.
Because that's what you didn't, as a kid, you didn't exercise. You
Right.
had active fun.
Yeah, so you come to the church and you play pickleball.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
That's what I think. You have,
That's what you
you
think.
have a cause, like.
You have a
I
cause.
just finished for the month of September, I rode the bike 200 miles.
In 1 month?
In 1 month, yes. So I actually rode 250 miles.
Wow.
But I had a cause, which was raising funds for kids with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the work I did,
Mm-hmm.
was taking care of cancer patients.
Mm-hmm.
And I raised almost $700 through different
Wow.
churches and things like that.
Wow.
People helped me out. So I might have white hair, but
But I didn't know that a person with white hair could ride a bike 250 miles in a month.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So what else would be possible for you?
Well, the tutoring here at Church of the Palms is awesome. And I have a kindergarten girl and a first grade girl, and I'm teaching them to read. And what rewards I'm having. Oh, I see a lot, I look around at the campus center over here, and other people are playing games, but I'm playing games with the reading and the books. And it's so awesome. They just love it.
Oh, I bet they do.
Yeah.
I bet they do, and you do too.
I want to second that because I tutor also.
Yeah.
And it really is wonderful.
Right, right.
So anybody who wants to join, just come and join.
It's great.
So think about your own life. I want you to think about your own life. What's the implications? Where is it that you're making yourself older? And what are you doing to make yourself younger?
I've always listened to the mantra, we become what we think about.
And he's teaching the next class. Say your mantra real loud, please.
We become what we think about.
We become what we think about. That kind of really ties in with what we did last week with the arm. We become what we think about. Wow, is that enormous amount of power in our thoughts? Yeah.
I have a friend, a very dear friend, that I see almost every evening. She's exactly my age, and she is old from the minute I see her, and her body is just falling apart. And she said, I don't know, and I need to do more too, but I mean, I just, especially after last week's class, I thought, oh my gosh, she's killing herself.
Literally.
The way she talks. I was
Literally.
Something, oh, well, you know, as we get older. I mean, she lives in that condition, and it's a downer when I see her, and I'm trying to think, should we continue to go there every night? And I'm thinking, well, maybe I can sort of perk her up, but she's a heavy load.
She's a heavy load, yes. Yes, and so let me ask you, when you get done talking with her every night, how do you feel?
I feel blessed.
Okay, okay,
that I'm not there.
okay. And do you know why you're not there?
Yes,
Because?
because I'm pursuing everything I can to fulfill my life
Yes,
and make the most of what I've got.
yes, it's called a choice.
And she's brilliant and does wonderful things.
Yes.
But in her mind, she's old and she's fallen apart. And, you know, I'm really old and I'm her age. And I think,
Oh, okay, and that's a really important, you just made a very important point. She's that age. Listen to the connotation in that one sentence. I don't even know what age she is, and if she's your age, I don't think it's that age. but listen, how many of you have ever read or learned anything about the blue zones? Okay, the blue zones are those places in the world that have the highest concentration of people over 100.
yes, I am.
Yeah, and they tend to be places that tend to be more isolated, like in Sardinia, they're in the top of the mountains and they herd goats. And the men are much younger than the women because the men herd the goats and life is easy. The women are older at the same age because they take care of the finances of the family. It's an interesting kind of thing. Anyway, there's one over in an island in Japan. And I was reading, in their society, you don't turn to an adult until you're 55. On your 55th birthday, it's a real big birthday because you became an adult. And our age, as you start to say, and now when are you retiring? Is what we say. When you get to be 98, they have your big birthday for you. And the entire town comes out and they have a parade, and you walk down and the whole town greets you and, you know, does confetti and all that kind of stuff. And the thing about it is, as you walk down for your birthday, all the little kids touch your skirt because you are so special. They want it to rub off on them. Remember how people touch Jesus?
Yes.
It's that same concept. When we have a 98-year-old person walk down the street, do we run to get back like them? No, we think they're old, they're decrepit, they're whatever. They are so honored for their age and their wisdom. And the older they get, the more they're honored. Now imagine living in a society where that's what you faced every day. Whoa, we'd be sitting up straighter, wouldn't we?
We have a neighbor that is the youngest person in the neighborhood, and she's 98.
Wow.
She always laughs,
Yeah.
whether it's appropriate or not. She always laughs. And she recalls things back to the, you know, when she first put a shrimp on a hook and went
Visit.
surfing,
Yeah.
you know, when she was young. She's just absolutely remarkable.
And a model for everybody else. Yeah, a model for everybody else. So think about being a model for the people in your life. Think about being a model for your grandchildren of what getting old can be. A model for your kids. Yes.
I was thinking it's cultural too, because I spent
Yes.
several years in Honduras living there, and they don't have nursing homes, they don't have assisted livings. I mean, the grandma comes and lives with them, the grandpa lives with them, or the oldest child goes and lives with the grandparents, but they revere
Yes.
the age.
Yes.
And it's totally different.
Yes. They honor them because they think, because as you age, you learn and acquire wisdom. So just want you to start, so this week your assignment is to think about what is the wisdom that you can bring to others? What is the value of being older that you can bring to your community? I'm going to talk about this research more next week. I'm going to get into more details, but I wanted to set the stage for what's possible in 5 days. These guys didn't go away for 6 months or a year. They went away for 5 days. So think about what your thinking could do for you in the next week when you come back. I'm expecting you all to just really look sassy. I want you to think about, what are you doing? You know, do you hunch over and you don't even realize it? What are you doing that's making you old, and what could you do to make yourself younger? Okay. Any questions? Boy, that got you quiet. Let's take just a 5-minute break. I just want you to get up and move your body so you don't get stiff and rigid. Okay, dance around. I'm going to put some music on for you. Don't go far. So I want to give you a thinking tool. Now that you're going to start thinking younger things, doing younger things, I want to give you a tool by which to think more effectively. So growing up, how many of you learned to do outlines? Yep, outlines. Okay. And what is it that you didn't like about outlines? All of it, okay. Okay, so let's talk about what an outline is. You have Roman numeral 1, you know, and then you have the capital letter A and capital letter B, so it's very linear, and then you have Roman numeral 2, so it's very pretty on your page. It looks nice, and it gets everything down, right? You do get everything down, and so it works to that extent. And we all learned how to do outlines, so they must be good, right? Okay. What didn't you like about outlines?
Filling in the gaps.
Filling in the gaps. Talk to me about that.
Elaborating on the main points.
Okay, so you had to be short and concise?
Yeah.
Okay. What else didn't you like about outlines? Yes.
It requires disciplined thinking.
Talk about that.
You have to actually think yourself from point A to point, all the way through it.
Yes.
And you have to do it in a logical manner. And I think by nature, a lot of us kind of get distracted and go off in one direction or another direction. And it's actually a difficult exercise to make yourself think through a problem.
Okay, because problems aren't always linear, are they? They actually have all these other branches that are important. So the process of having to be linear limits your ability to think through a problem because there's all these other branches that get part of it. Okay, what else didn't you like about?
It doesn't encourage creativity.
Okay, it doesn't encourage creativity. You're,
These aren't showing, I need it darker.
oh,
Can't see them in the back.
oh,
There you go.
thank you.
Mhm.
It limits creativity. What was, somebody said something else?
If you had an A, you had to have a B. You never found a B.
Yes, if you had an A, you had to have a B. Yeah, couldn't have just a single item. No. Okay. Anything else you didn't like about outlines? Well, that's enough right there, don't you think? Okay. So what I want to do is not do this anymore. Okay. That's why you don't do them now, right? Because you just really didn't like them. They didn't work for you. I want to give you a whole other technique. It's developed by a gentleman named Tony Buzan. Tony is a British guy. He has recently passed away, but quite, he doesn't even have a box to think outside of. Really brilliant guy. And yes, go all the way. You have a sheet. You have all this typing, and then you have a sheet that says mind mapping. Thank you. So, let me show you how mind mapping works. If you think about it, if you're doing an outline, you start at the top with your title and you go in a linear way down so that by the time you get down here, you don't remember what's up here anymore. Seriously, right? So in mind mapping, you put your central idea in the center. That way you always are focused on what your central idea is. So I'm going to mind map the story of the old men that I just told you. So my central idea is the old men, all right? And one of the things that I talked about was their experience. That was a main item. That would have been like my Roman numeral A in a mind map. One of the things that was their experience. So when I think about their experience, some of the things were the food that they ate, their hot dogs, they played sports, they listened to music from 1962, they had entertainment. From that time, they had sports, they had politics, they had TV, they had movies. So this was a main item, their experience. Under that was so it's kind of like an outline in that respect. So these are some of the items, excuse me, under experience. And then when I got to entertainment, I even have a subset under entertainment. So this is my music, their sports, the books that they read, etc. Now, what were some other things that I talked about this morning in that story? I talked about what their experience was when they were there, but what else did I talk about?
How their bodies changed.
How their bodies changed. So I might want to have another thing here about how their bodies changed. Their arthritis went away, their fingers strengthened, blah, 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 blah. What else did I talk about this morning?
Mental state changed.
Pardon me?
The mental state changed.
Okay, so yeah, thank you, that's great. So how did their mental state change? So they were sharper, they could remember things, blah, 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 blah. Anything else I talked about this morning?
They repeated the experiment, like it happened over and over.
Okay. I'm going to write down results just as a word, and that they did it 4 or 5 times. They had the same results, that the results were consistent, blah, blah, blah. Anything else I talked about? Did somebody say something? Okay, so in this particular mind map, my central idea is the old men, okay? And then when I talked about the old men, I talked about their experience, I talked about the results, I talked about what happened to their bodies, I talked about what happened to their mentally. Now, as I start to look at that, I might see that there are some things that tie together. So for instance, these experiences may have impacted the results, right? Some experiences might have impacted the results more than others. I might want to look at, what could I look at here? I might want to look at the results of the bodies and compare the results of the bodies to the results of their mental results, would be something I could talk about. So I can start to see, are there things that tie together that make sense, as opposed to isolating them? I could tie things together. I could, for instance, I'm just going to put the word sharper up here. They were mentally sharper, their bodies were sharper. I'm going to make a point here. I could start to see that there are patterns that I'm starting to find in the research. So that could be something that's really important. It could be that something repeats itself, and that might be something I really want to start to focus on. So I can start to see if there's, things that I use or pop up in a more effective way. I might start to see that maybe there were a ton of things that they could notice and mark on their bodies. Maybe there weren't very many mental things. I don't know that, but I can start to see, is there something that's one of these is more than another. So I might say, if that's how the research came up, that this has more impact on one's body than one's mental. Or it could be that I see that it's the same. Or I could see it's the reverse. It could be more mental than physical, whatever. But just by visually having it up there, I'm able to see patterns. I'm able to see associations. So what I'd like for you to do is, remember last week, for those of you who weren't here, I asked you to identify 3 things that you would like to focus on. And you chose one of them last week. You all know what that was. And if not, you can think of one, okay? So I asked them 3 things that whatever, they might want to have more money, they might want to have more friends, they might want to have better health. Whatever you wanted in your life, you chose. The one thing that we did the meditation on last week, I'd like for you to mind map that. Mind map that. So let's say that you chose, you wanted better health. You're going to put that in the center. So maybe, what would be something I'd want to investigate if I want better health? Eat. Okay. Food. Yeah, what I eat, my food. What's something else in terms of my health? Pardon me? Exercise, okay. What else?
Relationships.
How's that gonna, who said that? Oh, I should have known, the relationship thing. So how is relationship gonna be related to my health?
Well, we don't wanna drown like a little mouse, so
Very good, very good. So I may find that my overall health is significantly impacted by my relationships or lack thereof. Okay, give me one other thing. Oh, mental consumption. Wow. Don't watch the news. Okay, so I'm looking at, this is my goal, to have better health, and I'm mind mapping better health for myself. So I want you to take whatever your goal was that you identified last week, put it in a circle in the center, and mind map everything that you know about that. You might write down what are the things that are working for you, what isn't working, exactly what you want in the future, whatever it happens to be. So mind map the goal that you have. Okay, let me ask you, what did you like about the mind mapping process? What did you like? Just shout it. Your mind explodes, okay. What else did you like about it? What else did your mind exploded with ideas. What else? And your minds are going to explode with answers any second. What else did you like about it? So many activities, okay, that you could do to address with this. So you got lots of ideas, okay. What else? Accountability. Okay, talk about that.
I like that I can look at this and kind of make me accountable too, because there are things on here that I can definitely be doing.
Oh, I love that kind of accountability. Yes.
Excusing it away, I can say like, no, you really can, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I could do that. Okay, great. All right, good. And it's a visual, yeah.
You have to take action. It's action on your part.
Oh,
It's like a goal.
okay, so you.
It's gonna happen without you doing something.
Okay, but I want to know what you like about the mind map. And looking at the mind map, does that give you incentive to take action?
I have to take action.
Yes, that you have to. So it gave you insight that you have to take action. Okay, so you got an important insight.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
It's all things I could do,
Yes.
and if I don't do them,
Yes.
I'm not gonna reach my goal.
Right. Okay. So looking at the mind map, you get like you've always known that, right? But when you looked at your mind map, it was like real. So if it becomes real for you, there's value in that, right? What else did you like about the mind mapping process?
I found that when I wrote one thing down, I was creative and something else popped in my head.
Yes, you write one thing and it triggers something else. Yeah, absolutely. So when you maybe did an outline, you might have gotten like, yeah, stop. This triggered, which is this explosion. It triggers more ideas. Anything else you liked about the process? It was fast to get a lot of stuff down. You could see the whole picture. You could start to see how some things tied together. You could see the whole picture and the details. Yeah. It was enlightening. Yes, yes.
Formulated a plan by.
You got a plan just by doing it. Whoa. That's excellent. Okay. Yes, mind mapping does all of those things that the traditional outlining does not do. I'm going to talk in session 4. I did a lot of research at Ohio State University where we took pictures of people's brains, mind mapping, and I'm going to show that to you in week 4. But for right now, I want to give you the experience, and I want you just to play with it. Just to play with it. I'm going to talk about it more in the other sessions. But I just want you, so this week, for your grocery list, for your whatever, you know, what am I going to have for dinner? Don't you hate that question every night? And maybe you'll just trigger lots of ideas, okay? So just play with mind mapping. You can use it for anything. It's a great thinking tool. It's easy, it's fast. You can plan out your life. You can plan out what you're going to do this afternoon, you know, big things, little things. You start to see connections. You see how things tie together. You see, oh, I got a whole lot here, but I don't have anything down here. It's a great visual tool. So I ask you just to kind of play with it this week, and then we'll start to do more things with it. Any questions about mind mapping?
Can I share something?
Yeah, sure.
So this is how I do sermons. So I have, if I can get my idea, and I think in pictures, and I think in color, and these ideas, or I read this, and I read this, and that's where I'm looking for a thread to see if it holds together or not. That it's they're in my journals. Like yeah. And so I didn't have a name for it, and I've not done goals using it.
Yes.
But I like the
Yeah,
idea.
and you'll get the same results. I mean, yeah.
When you speak, we feel that.
Yeah.
It's just an organization that you have,
Taking
Yeah,
on
it all
the
ties
trail.
together.
tying it together.
Yeah, and thank you, because was a very elegant way to describe how a mind map works. Yeah, and the reason why it works that way is that's how your brain works. It's designed based on how your brain operates. So think about, because you think about something over here, and then something pops up over here, and you write something, and then you start, oh, you know, you see this connection, and all that makes you think of this over here. Okay, so it's designed exactly how your brain naturally works. An outline is unnatural. You were doing unnatural acts all through school.
Those teachers.
Yes.
Your flip charts. Somebody gifted me a couple of flip charts, and what I have found, because I've been doing some stuff like this on my own, is sometimes I need to be bigger than this, and so I go to my big flip chart.
Excellent.
Spread
Yes.
out in
Yes. Yes. And then what you can do, so this is your big picture, whatever your big picture is, and then you can take each of these and do a mind map of these and get all the detail. And so you can take that up or down, then you have that up or down kind of thing. The other thing, like if I'm designing a program, I will do this to where what you were talking about, get all the ideas out there, but then I have to present it in a linear way. So then there's other kinds of mind maps, other formats that you can use. So for instance, this is what I'm going to teach, these are my topics, then I can do something like this. This is my central idea. You always want to have that in the center because that keeps you focused, okay? And then this is my timeline. So, you know, this would be what we talked about this morning. This is what we're talking about now. This is what we're going to talk about. This will be my closing. So then I can put that in a linear format because sometimes that's what you're doing. You're going to do that. So that's another way that you can do that. So play with it. Have fun. Any questions about that? Okay, the next thing I would like to do, and I want to give you plenty of time for this. Last week, we talked about each week we would have 3 aspects of the day. The first part would be an intellectual aspect, so we did that. We talked about the research of the old men. The second part of the day would be a mind tool. Last week we did this. Today we did the mind map. So all of these are things with your brain that you can use. And then remember last week, our last thing was we did that meditation, the guided meditation. Okay, I want to give you a new tool today that's along that same line, and you have it in your paper. It's called the swish technique. So you worked on your goals today. You're getting an idea of this goal that you want to make some inroads on. What often pops up when we have goals is that we have things within us that sabotage our goal, right? You've all had that. I mean, the goal looks like, well, I want to get from here to there. That shouldn't be hard, but something pops up. So the swish technique is a way to literally reprogram your brain so you can eliminate that thing that is a barrier for you. So it might be lack of self-confidence, it might be, a whole host of things, whatever that is. So I just want to walk through this. It looks extremely long because I have to type it out. But once you see the process, you'll get it, and it actually goes faster. But what I want to do is walk this through to model this for you like we did last week with this. And Linda is in Ohio, and I don't have her for my model. So would someone like to volunteer to be my model? Thank you. If you would come up, Peggy. I most appreciate that. Give Peggy a hand. You know what? I'm going to be here because I have to put that down. If you would just, okay, so Peggy, I don't need to know what your goal is going to be. But what I want you to think about is there's something in that goal that could limit or block your reaching it. I just want you to think that what that could be. Like it could be, is there something, and I want the positive, like do you want to feel more confident? Would you like to feel valued? Would you like to feel good enough, competent? Is there a quality that would enable you to reach this goal, or when you reach the goal, you would want to feel?
Do I have to answer that?
Just yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, so you, okay, so you know what that is. Okay, so if you saw it, you would recognize it. Okay, excellent. All right. So I want you to think of a time, and I'm going to read this just because I want to make sure I go through every detail with you. I want you to think of a time when you lacked this quality. Whatever, okay. So it could be a time in your life or a long time ago. It could be a time this morning, whatever, when you lack this quality that you truly desire. So let's say confidence. A time when you felt you were unable to be the best you could be. Or you may think of something that you anticipate happening in the future where you're afraid you won't have this quality, where you might feel that you're lacking in this quality. So I would like you to allow yourself to be in the experience where you didn't have this quality. And I'd like for you to see what you were seeing at the time. And I'd like you to hear what you heard at the time. And I'd like for you to notice what you were feeling. And notice where you felt that in your body. And I'd like that unpleasant feelings that you associate with that time in your life to become even more intense. This is only going to be for a minute. So really kind of go, what I want you to do is really get a hold of how that felt at that time. And as those feelings become stronger within you, notice the part of your body in which you feel those feelings more strongly. And now, as you are aware of these feelings, you can also begin to notice what you're seeing in your mind's eye. Become more fully aware of what you're seeing in your mind's eye and what you associate with that feeling. The image may be complete sense to you, or it may not. Either way, simply notice what you see internally. And also notice what you're hearing something being said to you or by you that may have contributed to these unpleasant feelings. And now I want you to set that image aside and the things that you heard and the things that you felt, and put that to the side completely for the moment. We don't need to deal with that. So what I'm creating is that I'm just going to use the word confidence. Let's say she had a time in her life when she didn't have confidence. And in her new situation, she wants to have confidence. So we're just going to just position those. So we have the old time when she felt non-confident. And then we're going to create a new time when she is confident. And we're going to use that to eliminate in her wiring of her brain the time she didn't feel confident. So we're just going to eliminate that, okay? All right, so I just want to take you out of that feeling. And to do that, I'm going to just ask you to tell me your telephone number. And no writing down. Very good. Can you do that backwards? So what we just did was create the old situation, and then we disassociated her from that by having her do her phone number. That's all we're doing there. So you can have them do whatever, but the phone number works, okay? Okay, now we want to create this new image for yourself. All right, so now create in front of you, someplace in front of you, an image of yourself. The way you would look if you had already solved what affects you. This is a future you who is just a few steps ahead of you. A you who has already learned how to solve that issue. So how would you stand if you already knew how to solve that issue? How would you? Yes, thank you. Very good. This future you has solved the issue with methods that may not have occurred to you yet. And this you knows you will succeed because you have already done so. This is a you who has been through everything you've been through and a bit more. You think of you, so I want you to think of yourself with love, kindness, and knowing you can succeed in this situation. This wonderful you, right in front of you, is life-size, bright, colorful image of yourself having many resources to handle the issue that has blocked you in the past. A you who has many additional choices and many additional ways to handle whatever you were seeing in the unpleasant situation. And most importantly, notice that you feel powerfully drawn to this image. Looking at her, you have a strong feeling of wanting to become more like that wonderful you image. Take whatever time you need to make this image more real, more believable, more of whom you want to be. Some ways you might do this is by making the image come closer or bigger or brighter. Never fear.
Is that the only page 3?
Yeah, we'll get copies of it. You can ask your wonderful you if the wonderful you image were more powerful, more compelling, what would you look like? This question will immediately allow your brain to create a more powerful, attractive, wonderful you. So do you have this image exactly the way? Excellent, excellent. And now that you feel strongly drawn to become that future you, would you like to become this future you? Notice that the wonderful you is speaking in a sincere and honest tone of voice, saying, I feel good about myself. So imagine this you saying, I feel good about myself. Can you hear it? Can you see it? Do you know what she's feeling? Okay. And now the words, I feel good about myself, come towards you and encircle you. And as you hear the words, I feel good about myself, allow those good feelings to wash over you and through you. Take as long as you need, okay? All right, now take that image of the wonderful you and put it into a tiny sparkling dot, floating in space in front of you. Okay. Allow that sparkling dot to rapidly blossom and get larger and larger until it becomes life-size and you can see the wonderful you fully in front of you, colorful and bright. And you hear the wonderful you saying, I feel good about myself. And those words encircle you, and you feel that good feeling wash over you. And now I'd like you to see a blank screen. All right, just like in a movie theater. And then, okay, could you see her nonverbal when she was getting the different things that I asked her? So if you really want to watch the nonverbal, they'll tell you when they've gotten it. I just checked just to confirm that. Okay, so what we have is we've got this wonderful you. You reduced it into this sparkling dot that you could see. And then you were able to take that sparkling dot and make it life-size again. So what we're going to do, the next part of that, is we're going to have that sparkling dot. You've got the old image of yourself that we talked about a few minutes. You got that old part. We're going to take that sparkling dot, and it's just going to come in and swish and completely cover you. And the old part is just going to evaporate. Okay, so, and we're just going to do that over and over again. So you're going to get the old image, and that sparkling dot's just going to come in and go and completely cover every cell in your body. Okay, so I'll walk you through that. If you got it. You got it? Okay. So, now take the image of the wonderful you and put it in the tiny sparkling dot floating in space in front of you. You got it? Allow that sparkling dot to rapidly blossom and get larger and larger until it's life-size. And you see that wonderful you in front of you, large and bright and colorful. and you hear that wonderful you saying honestly and frankly, I feel good about myself. And you hear those words encircle you, and you feel that good feeling wash over you. And so let's have that dot just come and then see the black screen. We're just going to do that a number of times. So I just want you to imagine that tiny dot in front of you. And now that unpleasant image that we had is just going to come out and begin to fade away. You're going to see that sparkling dot. You see the sparkling dot? It's going to come, and it's going to come quicker and quicker, and just let that fall over you. See, could you see non-verbally her taking that in? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm sorry, what's your phone number? Excellent, excellent, okay. So all we're doing is we're just breaking, the phone number is just to break her and bring her back. Okay, so we're just going to walk through the whole thing again. I want you to get the old you. I want you to get the sparkling dot. That dot contains all of those wonderful things about yourself that you were wanting. That dot is just going to come in. Can you see that dot? And let that dot get bigger and bigger. And swoosh! Let that take all over your body. Saturate yourself with that feeling. Bring that dot in and just imagine it exploding all over you. How are you feeling about that old situation?
Not important.
Not important. Do you want to do it one more time, or do you think you're done?
I think I'm done.
I think you're done. I think you're done. That's it. Okay, so the process is, yes, please give her give her a hand. Excellent. Thank you for doing that. The process is getting them to connect with what it is they want to eliminate. Okay, so that you just take them back there for a short time. They're going to, they're not going to stay there forever, but you want to get that anchored in so they know what it is that they're eliminating. Then you have them identify what it is that they want. What are they going to hear? What are they going to see? What are they going to feel in this new, we'll just use the word confident. Before they weren't confident, they know what that feels like. They're now confident, and they're now tied to the table, and they're not going anyplace. Okay. So they get that confident, and then they completely associate that in their body, and then they reduce that to a tiny little sparkling dot. That tiny little sparkling dot is out here. That dot is you're going to bring that dot in and go swoosh. So it completely saturates them. They feel every cell in their body, they feel that new image. And you let them just soak that in. And then you have them do their phone number because you just want to disassociate. Okay, let them disassociate from it. And then you just do that again and again. They may need 20 times, they may need 3 times. They'll know. She knew. In fact, I could look at her and I knew that, she was, I just want to do one more thing. Could you come back up? So I just want to demonstrate for them one more thing. Oh, yes. This is my favorite part. Okay. Since how we see ourselves is greatly determined by how we experience the world and how the world experiences us, it will be most powerful if you are seeing your inner image. This is the one in the sparkling dot. That inner image in your past, your present, and your future. How would that feel? Are you up for it? You don't have to. Sure. Okay. All right. So what I want you to do is take that wonderful image of yourself, and I want you to imagine that you're holding it in your hand. So simply reach out and get a hold of it in your hands. And when you touch it, so you put your other hand next to your hand. Yeah, and just imagine touching that wonderful you, and it'll begin to glow. Imagine it glowing as you hold it in your hands. And now I want you to imagine that image multiplying by thousands of times. There's thousands of wonderful yous. So I want you just imagine wonderful yous going all the way to the back of the room and all the way to the back of this room in your back. So there's like, I'm sorry. Imagine like a deck of cards. Okay. So there's like wonderful you, wonderful you, wonderful you, wonderful you, and back of you, wonderful you, wonderful you, and to your left, wonderful you, deck of cards of wonderful you, and deck of cards of wonderful you. So this whole room is filled with these cards showing a picture of you in that perfect state that you desire. Okay? And then what I want you to do is I want you to take all the images that you can hold, and I want you to throw them up in the air. All these images of that wonderful you. So throw them up into the air and imagine all of these hundreds of images falling all over the room of yourself. The whole room, images everywhere falling of you. Take it all in. How's it feel?
Amazing.
Amazing. Give her a big hand. She was perfect, wasn't she? So any questions about the process? You're going to walk somebody through this, and then they'll walk you through it. And basically what the thing is, you want to get the old self. So the self that's not confident. You want to get a picture of that in your head. You want to feel it. You want to see it. You can all go there real fast. You know you've been there a million times, okay?
So what's our thought? Is it supposed to be a negative thought?
Yeah, your negative thought. So whatever the negative thing is for you that you wrote down, okay? Then you want them to visualize exactly what it is that they want. How do they want to hold their body? How do they want to sound? What would they be doing? What would they be feeling? So this is what you're going to get rid of, but I have you create that for a short period of time so that they have a sense of what they're getting rid of. You create what is it that you want, and then you take this and put it into a small dot of light. And you have that dot of light, and you're going to swish it. That's going to come in, and it's going to swish all over you, completely saturating every cell in your body. Yeah, you can do this right now. If you can do this at the light when you're in traffic. Just swish that, and you can notice non-verbally when they're done, they're completely saturated. And then you have them do their phone number, because you just want to have them disconnect for a minute. And then you do the whole thing over. And you just do it however many times they need. till that is the image that saturates their brain. And they know it when they can no longer really get the old image. They can't even get it back in their head anymore. It's gone. They've completely saturated every cell in their brain with this new image. We can only be the images that are in our brain. We can't be anything else. So you're replacing that image that limited you with that new image. You just look so calm. Wow, you feel great, don't you? And then at the end, you do the thing with the deck of cards where they see that wonderful image in the front, in the back, in the left and right. And then they throw the cards up and they all come down and fall everywhere around them and just completely are saturated in that person. So I want you to get with a friend and do this quickly. But it really doesn't take much time. Just do it however many times they need, and then you'll switch and they do it for you. Any questions about I'm going to be walking around. She's getting that third page, so you're going to get it. But get with a partner and do this. Any questions? Okay, you need to stand up. You got to stand up. Okay, questions, comments, experiences? Do you want to share yours? Shh. Let me have your attention, please.
I've been, a couple things that have kind of turned my life upside down and backwards, spun around a few times. And I've been working diligently to find my way back. And this experience today has proven to me that I'm getting closer and closer.
Wonderful. Yes, give her a hand. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, what we did is we talked about last week that a thought is an electrical connection between two dendrites. So here's my dendrites, and I have an electrical connection. This is you not feeling confident. That's the electrical connection. This is you feeling whatever your thing that you wanted to change. So if you want to have more money in your life, there's certain things that you have to do, right? You have to learn how to invest it, or you have to learn how to save, or you have to have certain skills and beliefs around that to get more money out of your life. If you want to have a richer relationship with your family, there's certain things that you have to do. You have to be pleasant, okay? You have to be loving, right? You have to be loving. You have to feel loving. You have to feel lovable, okay? So if I want to feel lovable, I have to have this connection in my brain. I have to have a picture of myself as lovable. If I feel that I'm not lovable, if that's the connection that I'm making, I can't be lovable because I have a picture of being an unlovable person. So what we're doing in this experience is whatever your negative thing that you had, you have this wiring. This is your dendrites. You've got these two dendrites, and you have that connection. And until you change that connection, you can't be lovable. You can't, because this is a physiological wiring. Is this making sense? So to be lovable, you have to have the dendrites, these dendrites connect. And that's what you did in this experience. So what it is you just run it. So for you, if you really feel like you're an unlovable person, you may do this one 50 times because you're breaking new ground. You're breaking new ground. You may not have anything. You may not have any pathway there. So you have to build the pathway. So when she ran, and she already had her pathway, I could tell. She had some etching there. But I want you to think of, this is like building a cow path. You know, if the cows come into the barn at the end of the day, every night they come in the same way. They don't come in one night this way and another night come in that way. They don't. They come in the same way. So every time they come to the barn, they do it the same way, and that path gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So what you were doing, why I said some of you may do this 20 times, it's because you didn't have anything there, and you just have to build that cow path. So let's say her situation pops up again for her. It will not come back as steep as it was. It won't, because she's already worked on it. But, you know, it could be another day. She goes, I have a little bit of that feeling. I have a little bit. Run it again. You can run this when you're in the car sitting in a traffic light. In the middle of the night, you wake up and you can't sleep. Run sleeping in your head. Run these and make the connection, and you'll be asleep in 5 minutes. What you're doing is you have all these pathways in your brain, and what you are doing is intentionally creating the connections you want. As a kid, we got connections made just because, okay? And we spent our whole life running them. And some of these connections go to China. They're so deep, okay? That's all they are. They're a connection. They're not truth. They're not truth. They are an electrical connection. And all you do is run your new connection until it's as deep as you need it to be. That's all you do to change a belief. So we tend to believe that we are at the mercy of our old beliefs. We aren't. We can create the beliefs we want anytime. This is one of the most powerful I've ever used. Any questions about it? Okay, so Jesus said, I have come that you might have a life and have it abundantly. You just started wiring in abundance. Literally. Abundance of love, abundance of care, abundance of money, abundance of friends. You are the creator. And this is a tool that'll help you do that. So today we discussed how your brain can change your body. You just did it in this exercise. You literally changed your body. We talked about the old men changing their body. We talked about mind mapping, a way of thinking, a thinking tool to problem solve, to become more creative, to see all kinds of new possibilities. And we changed a belief system that you've carried around for a long time to a new, powerful belief. We did a lot in 2 hours. Thank you so much. Next week, we have even more good stuff. Whoa, it's so good, let me tell you. Have a great week. Thank you so much.